Jon Enge, and this is Dungeoneer, the show that answers the question, did we really need another D&D advice show by a middle-aged white guy with a resounding,
"Oh, you betcha, yeah."
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about running your first game. A prospect so terrifying we'd rather invent whole worlds, create entire languages, and reimagine a dozen ancestries and cultures rather than get behind that DM screen. What if dwarves, but hot? And that's not just new GMs. I've run hundreds of games in person, online, streaming. Every time, the hardest part is going from hanging out, hugging, and shoveling snacks into my face to starting the actual game. But eventually comes this awkward moment where they're all sitting at the table staring at me, and out of sheer panic, I start the game. Well, today we're going to try to break that cycle of procrastination and get you to the table by giving you the tools to adequately feel prepared. We're going to talk about naming things, making characters, adventure structure, who to invite to your first game, and some general do's and don'ts. As far as do's go, a lot of people will discourage you from over-prepping, but I think that's ridiculous.
And let me tell you why.
Anytime you create something and put it out in the world where people can see it, that is an act of vulnerability. You spend a lot of time putting yourself, the things you like, even your philosophies into this game. So of course you're going to be hesitant to share it. I mean, what if your players don't like it? What if they say you're no good? What if they say, get out of here, kid, you got no future? I mean,
I don't know if I could take that kind of a rejection.
so your natural instinct is going to be to sit in front of your computer, think of every possible scenario, street name, and NPC you possibly can. You don't want to be caught with your pants down. After all, being caught with your pants down is what Florida Man is for. I want to give you permission to overprepare. I've heard some arguments against overpreparing that go something like, don't overprepare. Spend that extra time with your friends and family. Just do enough to get you through your first session. Who is this magical person that knows exactly how much to prepare? And who says you have a family? And if you do, who says they're even worth spending time with? What if you're caught in a loveless marriage and your evenings up until now have been spent sitting at opposite ends of the couch, watching reruns of The Property Brothers, and the distance between you, though no more than a single couch cushion, could be filled with a million words. But you can't seem to find a single one. How terribly happy you were at the beginning when you were both so alive and full of life. But as you settled in, that life faded, and instead of Doc Martens, you started wearing whatever the hell these are. And instead of going out, you spent your Fridays sitting on the couch, eating whatever you got at the drive-thru on the way home. And one day, you realized that couch night is every night. Of course, you thought about ending things, but the kids will be headed off to college in 5 to 10 years, and maybe you could just stick it out. And after you're empty nesters, maybe things will get exciting again. Maybe you'll finally be able to take that trip across Europe you've always talked about. Though your knees aren't what they used to be, and there's going to be a lot more sitting than there would have been in your 20s, so goodbye Alps. And you would have gone a long time ago, but Brandon needed braces, and then Emma had that bout with leukemia, and she's fine now, she's fine. But because our healthcare system is so irreparably broken, you'll be paying that debt off until you die. And though she wants to go to Stanford, she might have to settle for state school, and what are you going to tell her? You can't afford to go to a good school because you had leukemia? You're not a monster, so she'll need a serious scholarship, but she just doesn't have the GPA because let's face it, Emma's lovely. Everyone loves her, but she's average at best. At best. So instead of addressing the miserable hole in your heart, you ask your friends from middle school if they want to try and recapture some of the joy of your youth by playing D&D again, and yeah, they're miserable too. So trying to recapture the Mountain Dew-filled dreams of a 12-year-old sounds pretty good. So now instead of a loveless night on the couch wishing for the sweet, sweet release of death rather than one more goddamn Property Brothers episode, you spend your evenings working on the only thing that's given you joy since your partner started sleeping on the couch because of their back. You prep your campaign, and it brings a little joy into the black cloud of failure that is your adult life. And I just want to tell you, that's okay. I'd love to tell you it gets better, but we both know that's a lie. That got dark. The more you prepare, the more confident you're gonna feel. So do it. There's no shame. Write until you're blue in your cute little fingertips. But, and this is very important, set a date. Tell your players, next Saturday this train is gonna choo-choo-choo itself right out of the station, whether you're ready or not. This is not how you choo-choo. Choo-choo-choo-choo-choo-choo. Without a deadline, you could just world build until you're old and dead. Here's a quick list of things you're probably gonna need your first time out. Names. You don't have to invent everything now, just the places you're gonna go. your quest giver, the name of the person they're trying to save, the innkeeper. There's always an innkeeper. That's where the beer lives. And keep the names of 10 randos handy, because you can't predict when they're gonna go to the local knock-knobbler. Yes, I said knock-knobbler. It's a real thing. I looked it up, and it only took me 3 tries to say it without accidentally uttering profanities. The local goblin. And to make it all easier, I recommend going to fantasynamegenerator.com. This isn't sponsored. I just really like them. You like the names of dwarves in World of Warcraft? Got it. How about names from ancient Gaul? Boom, right there. A fan of Victorian England? Right here, governor. No? You prefer Final Fantasy? Which species? Aura, Hrothgar, Huer, Lalafell? No, you look like an Elezen stan. Of course you are. Who doesn't like Elezen? Fallout Boy elves in bondage gear. What's not to love? Tila Puireno. Beautiful. Save the best names for memorable NPCs. Nobody's gonna care what the bartender was named after you leave this dump anyhow. It's gonna sit in the back of a notebook, naked and alone, wishing they'd come play again. But we're never going back to Dumpwaddle after this adventure because it's freaking Dumpwaddle. Nobody wants to go to Dumpwaddle, not even the Dumpwattillians. I'm gonna have to make Dumpwaddle now, aren't I? Available on Patreon. And now, for the rest of the places. Name of the blacksmith? Hammer Down. Name of the river? Empty Creek. Name of the inn? The Southern Llama Inn. I mean, come on! Who wouldn't want to patronize a pub named after a South American camel with a penchant for sneaking up and bursting in on people? Ah! And that reminds me, make sure you always say the name out loud before presenting it to your group.
One of the highest of the Order of the Raven Queen was named Purvan.
Yeah, he was.
Purvan?
Purvan. P-U-R-V-A-N.
Last name, Pedobear.
Purvan.
Yes,
on
get
the
your
second-
Purvan.
Yes.
We've all had a moment like that.
Learn from my mistake.
So you've got your story and everything named. Wait, you don't have a story? Jesus, Potter, you're gonna need one of those. My examples are gonna be basically an adventure, which I'm gonna write up and put on the Patreon for all y'all. Characters. Your players are gonna need characters. Set up a time before the game where you can all work on them together if at all possible, even if it's only on Zoom. This is a great way for your players to get to know each other and start bonding. Plus, they can collaborate on histories, improv off each other, etc. This is like another game, and it's a great time hanging out. If you want to give your new players, and let's face it, yourself, a little time to get used to how things work, start at level 1, but be cautious. A level 1 fighter with an 18 constitution has 14 hit points. A goblin does an average of 5 hit points of damage per attack. That means if they land 3 hits, that character is going down faster than a grinder hookup. Nobody wants to come back and play a game where the weakest monster in the manual spilled their character's guts all over the knock-knobbler's porch. And that knock-knobbler's gonna be pissed. The adventure. What elements should an intro session have? Well, here's how I do it. Your mileage may vary. We start out with the intro, where we set the scene and let the characters interact. Then you hit them with the first encounter, something small and quick. Then they travel and plan or grab pieces of a puzzle. They go to the bad guy's place and figure out how to assault it. Boss fight, they fight the boss. Let's start with a caravan. You've been hired to escort this caravan from City 1 to City 2. I'll write an intro to set my players in the world. Having something written out takes a lot of pressure off me to just launch in. I have a script, I can just read it. I have the players introduce their characters and give them a little time to interact. This makes a lot of people uncomfortable, so you might want to have an NPC start the conversation and keep it short, unless your group is full of actors who've been dying to try out their accents. I don't even know what accent that is, it's terrible. And not that you have to do an accent. Subscribe to the channel to see me talk about how to not do an accent in a future video. Once the gas starts to run out on the conversation, drop the plot hook, goblins attack. A small combat, no more than 3 to 4 rounds, that doesn't do much damage to the PCs. Let them get used to their abilities, how dice rolling works, and let them squirt exactly 1 bead of sweat, but ultimately, let them feel like badasses. If they've used up a bunch of spells or gotten seriously injured, they're gonna want to take a long rest, and taking a long rest is death for drama. If they start to go full nuclear on these goblins, blasting off their abilities and every spell in their tiny little spell book, I'll warn them, hey, crew, this is an adventure that's gonna have many parts. Think about whether you want to blow all your abilities on the first encounter. You may not have them again. It's no fair for them to think the adventure is just a goblin attack, only to be like, surprise, motherfucker, dire sloth. After the small combat, Give them some exploration or social encounters as they progress to the bigger problem, tracking the goblins to their hideout. Have them get to the goblin camp, show them the map, and then let them plan their attack. Planning is one of the fun parts of D&D. This is a chance for them to get creative and surprise the goblins. Remember, your characters are way better at being adventurers than the graphic designers, engineers, and electricians at your table. As long as you're not pressed for time, let them go for a while. You can find this intro adventure on my Patreon, sign up, and there'll be more where that came from, mister. I'll try to tailor the adventure to whatever PCs the players brought. If there's a ranger in the group, I give them something to track. If there's a rogue, I let him get all sneaky. If there's a bard,
Here I come, baby.
give your players the chance to be the heroes they imagined when they made these characters, which is gonna be its own video, but I'm gonna go into it just a little here. We're telling a story with our players, not to our players. If someone wants to play the kind of character who smashes through a wall to help their friends, build a wall for them to smash. I'm always suspicious of a DM who won't let their players do the thing they've always dreamed of. And I always say no, or that's not how the rules work, or put your pants back on, Enge, this is a TJ Maxx. Players, you're gonna need some of those. 3 to 5 is optimal, but if this is your first time, I recommend fewer. My best advice, find a ringer. Get someone at the table who really knows the system well, and let them know if you get stuck, you'll ask them questions. Not sure who to ask? Find one of us forever GMs. Many of us would be willing to murder a baby inside a dog inside a grandmother to get a chance to simply play. If you ask, they will come, but you might want to hide your dog mother. Who you invite to your table can make or break the game, so choose wisely. You don't want to end up with a Regina George at your table telling everyone, you can't sit her. You want the Regina George pulling up in a convertible going, get in loser, we're playing D&D. Make a ruling and move on. You're not gonna know all the rules. There's just no way for one person to do that, especially before their first game. If you don't know a rule and you can't find the answer quickly, do what you think is fair and move on. Don't ruin the momentum by stopping constantly to look up rules. You can look it up later. Keep in mind the spirit of the rules and try to rule in favor of the players when it doesn't seem completely broken. You want them to come back? Let them be cool. Like Wesley Snipes cool. Don'ts. What shouldn't you do? Well, that's completely subjective. Some things you would never do, I might. But here's a quick list of things I find absolutely f***ing useless, in a one-shot anyway. Making the characters meet. Sure, it can be fun to do the story of the adventurers coming together to fight a common foe, but if you're pressed for time, just sit down with them and work it out. Or tell them how they know each other. In my most recent one-shot, I just said, you're all part of the same criminal gang. Do with that what you will. Give them some context, let them fill in the details. Don't sandbox. There's nothing more frustrating as a player than to have 7 hooks dropped in front of you with no idea which one to pursue. No, you need a plot hook that barges in, kicks over your table, smashes your face with a pint glass, rubs your nose in the carpet, and jumps out your window. And if your players don't run after that guy, you've got big problems. It's the first adventure. Give them the adventure. You can let them blaze their own path once they've broken their characters in. And I've heard people refer to that as railroading, but those people don't know what railroading is. Character backstory. It feels like absolute heresy to say as I'm a huge fan of character backstories. Subscribe for that video coming soon. But if it's your first adventure, I wouldn't worry about threading your characters' histories into the storyline yet. Just worry about the adventure that's laid out before you. You can always build up to more intricate things. First, get to know how things work. And don't try to predict the character's action. They will never, ever, schmever, sever, lever, clever, endeavor, forever do what you think they're going to do. So set up a hook, let them run with it a bit, and then have the next part of the adventure meet them wherever they ended up. For instance, they're at the tavern and the farmer comes in. Goblins stole my baby! You may expect them to immediately run out of town to the road, find the goblins' tracks, track them to the lair, and fight them. But they never do. Sometimes they spend a bunch of time trying to figure out who these goblins are and why they stole the baby. Maybe they work for the local baby monger and he needs more baby parts and they're out collecting.
We're just doing our job, sir.
Instead of waiting until they exhaust their options talking to every Tom, Dick, and Tabby, have some goblins come out of an alley holding another baby. They run off, and now you have a chase. And that's the chase that you had planned earlier. I don't even think in terms of they'll have to get X information from Y person anymore. I simply think, oh yeah, That person would know that. Don't hide big plot points behind die rolls. Yeah, if they need to deduce something, if they need to know some local history, etc., figure out which character would know that information and then just tell them. It makes them feel special. As a GM, you need to embrace your role facilitating other people's fantasies. That came out wrong. Well, that's all I can think of for now. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any suggestions or corrections for me, leave those in the comments below. I'll be doing one video a month called Corrections, where I read your comments about how wrong I am. I'm not a guru, I'm just a guy who's done this a lot. The things that haven't worked for me in the past might work great for you. You know, because we're different people. If you want to get characters, settings, adventures, and extra video content, head to the Dungeoneer Patreon, follow us on the social medias, and share this with your family and friends. I really want to keep making this series, but if people don't watch, well, I won't be able to make videos if I'm crying all the time. All right, I'll see you next week, and until then, check this out. If you're looking to try out a high adventure system, I recommend Savage Worlds. It recreates pulp adventure like no other game. To learn the system, I want to recommend Tabletop Tango. Carl and Eric are super knowledgeable and so much fun to watch. Plus, Carl wrote a song and made a video about Savage Worlds. For that alone, they deserve your sub.